All right, here we are. Welcome to the workshop From Surviving to Thriving. And I really would like to congratulate you for taking the time to learn about something that has the potential to change your life forever. Because if you are a person that has already tried a lot of things and various approaches to deal with the challenges that you have that hold you back from really fully living that joy and that fulfillment and the success and everything that you care for in your life and your business, but your problems either have not been fully resolved or they keep on coming back somehow, then you've been searching in the wrong places. And today you will learn why that is. So, as I've already said, your nervous system eats your mindset for breakfast. So, this means that you cannot think your way out of stress, that no amount of analyzing or rationalizing or positive thinking or talking about your past will get your system out of survival mode. And this is important because there are so many approaches out there that people try. Because here's what most people do: they do mindset coaching, um, psychotherapy, energy healing, they go to the spiritual world, they try ayahuasca, psychedelics, um, everything in order to change and finally break free from those chains of the past and from the baggage that is holding us back from thriving. But all of these things only work on the level of the thinking brain. And stress and unresolved trauma even is a result of a dysregulation of the nervous system, which is what I'm going to explain to you in a second on the flip chart in more detail. That comes from a completely different area, in your brain and your body, which you can't even access by thinking about it or talking about it or analyzing it and having insights. That's great, but it doesn't solve the problem. So my journey was always like trying to find the root cause of people's suffering and my suffering, and really understanding what is the root cause, where does it come from, why do things keep coming back. And what I've learned has completely changed my life and is such a game changer. And in the next couple of minutes, I'm going to explain the same stuff to you. And it is my intention to give you that same epiphany and that same aha moment. And by that, like hope and a way out of what you've been trying to let go of and finally be able to let it go. So before we dive into the more theoretical and scientific knowledge on the chart, I want you to imagine your system basically like, let's say, like a garden, okay? Like a thriving, like this ecosystem of thoughts, of emotions, of sensations, of experiences, everything that makes you you, okay? And traditional approaches like mindset coaching or strategy or even talk therapy, it's like if you prune the flowers. So you pluck away a little bit here and you do a little bit that, and you're like, okay, and if I plant this, then I get this and this and this works together. So like it's kind of that approach. But what is completely missing is that these flowers and everything that you try to create cannot blossom, it cannot thrive when the soil is unhealthy. And the nervous system essentially is like the soil. It is really like the ground, the foundation for everything that you put on top. So this is why in this work, it's not just thoughts and strategy and mindset and this and that, but it's the whole thing. It's like tending to the soil and nourishing and nurturing it, that what you want to create and what you want to have in life and how you want to live and feel and act can actually flourish on that soil. And if you don't do that, if you're a gardener, then you know that no matter how much you prune and do and outside and all this kind of meticulous work, which has well intention, but if the soil is unhealthy, it can't work. So similarly, if you are seeking true well-being and true health and true thriving, then you have to not only take your thoughts and everything into account, but your entire body and your nervous system. All right, so welcome to an explanation of basically your inner hardware, your nervous system. This might look a little bit complicated, but don't worry, it's very easy to understand once we walk through. So essentially, what you got to understand is that your nervous system is like an inner, like fully automatic radar system. Okay, so completely subconsciously, the system is constantly scanning everything, like every situation, every person, every environment, scanning, is this safe or am I in danger? That's the one and only question the nervous system asks. Am I in danger or am I safe? And of course, you can imagine that if a system is more wired that there is danger, even though there is no danger, then you get subsequent results. So the whole point is that we teach the nervous system again how to get into safety. All right, so this system, how does it work? Essentially, it has three parts. And maybe you've already heard of parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system, which is true, but there's a little bit more to that. So let's look at this. Essentially, we have three areas, okay? So the basic, our state, let's say our factory setting as human being, is the parasympathetic state of ventral vagal safety. You don't have to remember this. I'm just going to share a little bit of geeky scientific knowledge with you. I call it I am, okay? So this is the state of social engagement. This means that you feel grounded, you feel connected, there's joy, you're present in the moment, you have empathy. And because I live in Switzerland, sometimes I'd like to say, imagine a cow on the meadow. You know, just chilling out, grazing, hanging out, just like us. You know, you're chilling, you're hanging out, you're not asleep, but you're fine with yourself. Maybe you want to engage with a group, but you're also completely fine with yourself. You're in connection with yourself, other people, the universe, and everything. Okay, so this is the factory setting that deep within we really are. All right, so this is parasympathetic state of I am. Now, when we engage in our daily life, okay, then of course we start to activate a little bit. So this is a word I want you to remember, activation. So the nervous system, from down here, from chilling, from hanging out, from being calm, grounded, centered, moves up a little bit, okay? So we're moving up into I can. So this is the sympathetic nervous system. This activates your system. So the sympathetic nervous system, briefly explained, essentially releases in your glands and in your brain a cocktail of hormones and chemicals that activate you. Cortisol, adrenaline, noradrenaline, all these things that get us moving. So a little bit of that is fine. For example, me, okay, I'm getting up today and I'm doing this video workshop. So I'm a little bit not nervous, maybe a bit, but I'm excited. I'm like, okay, let's do this. So that's a sense of excitement and activation we want. So I'm getting up here and I'm doing this stuff. And once this is done and everything is taken care of, I can come back into I am, all right? I can come back into regulation and a moment of relaxation and recovery, essentially. So we can go essentially through life like this, okay? So we activate and we regulate, and we live a life that of course has some positive stress and all these kind of things. So a little bit of stress is fine. Okay, so we go here. If you have the capability to come down into I am again automatically, I'll get back to that. Remember just that. The capability to get into regulated state of I am automatically, because this is the missing link. Now, when does stress become a problem? When the stress levels go up, okay? And our system goes into, okay, here's danger, I need to start to survive this. So we get into fight or flight. I'm sure you've heard about fight flight. Fight flight is the activation of the sympathetic nervous system that activates your system in an enormous force, a power that is geared for your survival. So imagine running away from a tiger, like we used to, or running away from some danger. The system brings up so much energy and so much strength and power that you can either fight or you can run away. Okay? So this is normal. This is fine. This is what we need if there is an actual real danger. But, big but here. If this system is constantly in this survival mode, is constantly in this sympathetic activation, and there is no real danger, there is no tiger chasing us, there is no catastrophe that we have to run away from, but instead we're just with our coworker in the office, or with whatever the mother-in-law, whatever it might be dangerous for you. But it's not real. But the system thinks that we are in danger, and we start to react in certain ways. So then we get from I can to I should, and we all know when we should all over ourselves, to I must. And how many of you are constantly living in a state of I must do this, I must achieve, I must perform, I must, like this feeling of constant pressure. So when we're here, suddenly our world looks like there's worry, there's overthinking, there's frustration. As we move up the ladder, fear, anger, rage, panic. And many people live prevalently in these emotions because they are stuck in the sympathetic activation. They're stuck in survival. Okay, this is like this constant like drive. The system, imagine there is a cocktail of hormones in you that is okay for the short term, but not for the long term. For the long term, too much cortisol and adrenaline makes us sick. But this is how we live. So you constantly must. And you're not coming down here anymore. You're not entering down here anymore because a crucial skill of coming down here is missing. And this is called self-regulation. This is when your system is capable of experiencing stress, that's fine, and survival mode, that's fine. But when it's over, it goes down here again. And it becomes grounded and connected, and we're joyful again and recover, rest and digest. That's why many people have digestion problems, because they're not in the digestion mode anymore. So we get stuck up here. Now, if your life happens up here instead of, as I said, here, which is natural, but you're more stuck in the high activation sympathetic survival mode, then at some point, imagine there is so much energy in your system that the body has almost like a panic button, if you want, like an emergency shutdown. And because there's so much stress in the system, at some point it goes boom into I can't, into shutdown, or what we call freeze. And this is when nothing goes anymore. So then we feel depressed, hopeless, helpless, numb, shame, all these very uncomfortable but like numb feelings where we're there but we're not really there. We call it dissociation. So we kind of jump into this area from so much energy into like shut down, to preserve energy. This is what animals do as well. But animals, unlike us, find their way back here again. So then, if you're here, and this is what my life looked like, you live a life between high activation and energy, and I do this, and oh my God, I can't anymore, like I'm exhausted, I have a burnout, and like, but what goes up comes down. So at some point you chill and you rest a little bit, and then there's the energy again, and you're doing, and then you fall into like the exhaustion and burnout again. And then you do, you relax and you take a break, and boom, and you're up here. So you're living up here. And this is horrible. This is not a nice place to live. Why do we get stuck up here? Now that's the key question, okay? If all this is natural and all this happens to animals as well, what is different in animals than to us? The key is, as I said, self-regulation. So that the system, because all of this is fine, all of this is natural, and even this, if you think about it, is amazing because the system has a natural, our nervous system has a natural like mode that just shuts off when things get too much. It's a protection mode. When just things get too much or too overwhelming and physically or emotionally dangerous, boom, then we just shut off and we just don't feel anything anymore. I can't. That's okay. It's a preservation of energy. It's, again, in order to ensure our survival. If fight or flight doesn't work anymore, if we cannot fight or if we cannot run away, the only thing we can do is freeze and pretend we're dead. Shut down. But underneath all of this here is a lot of energy. Okay, that's super important to know. Now, why do we get stuck up here? Because we lack the essential skill of self-regulation. Self-regulation meaning, okay, we're experiencing something like this, but then the body and the system comes down again and we get back into presence, empathy, curiosity, rest and digest, regulation, I am. But if How do we learn self-regulation? We learn it in childhood. We learn it with a caregiver that is attuned and present with us. Not like today where you see all the mothers like being on their phones and like not looking big. It's really, really, really important that when we are in distress as a child, which we are, and if you have children, you surely know, that there is somebody with us through eye contact and touch and physical presence and emotional presence that helps us through so-called co-regulation to learn to regulate these emotions and these overwhelming experiences. And if we have that, we learn self-regulation. And then when we have that skill of self-regulation, it doesn't matter so much if something crazy happens in our lives. We find our way back here. And this explains why an event can be traumatic for somebody and a walk in the park for someone else. Because a person can get stuck here and the other person who experiences the same event experiences the stress and regulates down again. Now, what do we do? Because the system always wants to get back here. We want to be able to chill and relax. So what do we do? If our system is not able to self-regulate, we so-called auto-regulate. So we do things from the outside that help us going down here momentarily. So we are stressed and we are kind of super, and then we need to have a cigarette to feel ourselves again. Or we need to drink, or we need to do a lot of sports, because that energy is like sport. So we need to do a lot of sport to get down here again. Or we go shopping, or we have sex, or we do whatever it is to momentarily deal with this high activation. So we do anything that our system relates to get down here. But as you surely know, and as you have experienced, it doesn't last long. And we're back up here again. And now this is where the cycle starts. You back up here, you need this again. And you back up here, and you need this again. And you back up here, and you need this again. Addiction. So the key is that wherever you are is fine as long as you know where you are. And understanding and getting a map of your nervous system, which is unique to you, and you cannot compare yourself to anybody else. Your system is your system. But these things are the same for all of us. It doesn't matter gender, race, ethnicity, doesn't matter. We're all wired the same way. No exception. This is where we want to be. This is where most of us stuck, especially all the high performers, high achievers, people in high stress environment, all the finance people that I work with a lot, high-powered VC startup world. It's all here. This is all like, I must. But down underneath, there's panic, there's rage, there's fear, there's anger. And thinking about it or having an executive coach that gives you some strategy will not work. So I hope this has helped you to understand how you're wired in your neurobiology. This is how you're wired neurologically from an area of social engagement, I am, to fight or flight, I can, I should, I must, to shut down and freeze, which is basically I can't. And we all have this, we all share this. The one difference we don't all share is that some of us have an easier capability to get down into I am again and rest and relax and recover. And others, most of us in fact, are stuck up here. And the good thing is we can learn this. We can learn this again to get down here. And this is exactly what I do in my work. So essentially, if this is enlightening for you, and if this makes sense for you, and maybe you see yourself, you could find yourself somewhere here, I can totally relate to you because I basically lived all my life here. And up here, between like high activation and energy and then mini burnout. And I always wondered, what is wrong with me? And I tried so many things. And I would always go to sauna or do a lot of intense sports or whatever I did, travel around the world, activation, but only to find myself back here again. Until I started to rewire and reprogram my nervous system and basically learn that skill of self-regulation again so that my system, not only that I know where I am and I'm like, oh, okay, I feel like I'm here right now, so this is what I need to do now to get out of it, because this is something that I can establish and then learn, but also that my system knows automatically, okay, and we're down here again. A total game changer, life changing, literally. So if this resonates with you, and if you find yourself here, and if you are also interested in learning how to get here again and finally break those shackles, those chains of being stuck in survival mode, and you want to be thriving, because thriving happens here and here, but not here. Thriving is the area where we live our potential, where we find our purpose, where that energy that is, that we use to suppress all these emotions and everything, when that energy, because in physics, energy just doesn't disappear, energy stays. So imagine all that energy that we use to keep these emotions in check and to keep all this unwanted fear and anger and sadness and everything under control, which is what we do up here. That takes a lot of energy. So once that is free, and that energy becomes free, that energy is what you can bring into your life and into your mission and into your business, and like really bringing the horsepower on the road, so to say, because you're not wasting your energy anymore to keeping something in check, which is stuff from the past. And when you're in surviving, this is not the place to open your heart. This is not the place to create. This is not the place to communicate compassionately or effectively if you're a leader, because you are basically in tunnel vision and your system is flooded with hormones, and you sometimes even forget where you are and you lose it. And this is not a place to thrive. This is a place to survive. So my invitation for you is to get into thriving and to learn the benefits of getting into a regulated nervous system state. And the tangible results are amazing, which I can share with you from my life and the life of my clients, is not only like this enhanced resilience, because what is resilience? That the system gets wider again and you have like larger coping of stressors. And whenever something happens, for example, you're in like in a high stress environment, in a board meeting or something, and people call you out, you can stay there with grace and calmness and ease. You will have much better focus and increased productivity, because again, like, you're not here, but you're more here, like in this area where you're centered and calm and present, which as a leader and as a business owner, I would say is pretty important. It is also the area where we communicate more effectively and compassionately. Again, if you have a team that you manage, or if you have a husband or a wife at home or children, that is something you want to learn, you want to be able to do. You want to be connected to yourself and connected to others and show up in presence, not constantly being stuck in worry and overthinking about your business while you're with your newborn baby and your partner. This is something I hear very, very often, that what people say, like, finally I can be present and I have like the so-called work-life balance. Well, this is what it is. If you're at home and you're there, and if you're at work and you're there and you're focused. So it's all these things, all these really real-life tangible benefits of better decision-making under pressure. Because if you're under pressure, but then you have tunnel vision and you basically lose yourself and you're in panic and in rage or fear, what type of decisions do you think you're making? But if you're grounded and connected and present, but there is a high-stress environment, the decisions you make are definitely better than the decisions you make from here. So you see the benefits of this work, of navigating your nervous system and rewiring it so that you can live from a place of thriving, from I am. The effects are not only related for business, but for everywhere in your life. And maybe one word about trauma. Because there is this big stigma of trauma, that it is something that only war veterans have, or people who've suffered some kind of abuse or whatever, like the really bad stuff. But trauma is nothing else than a dysregulation in your nervous system. This here is trauma. This is what it is. It has nothing to do with what happened or what did not happen to you or whatever. It doesn't have to do anything with the event, but it has everything to do with what is going on inside of you and in your nervous system. And this is different for all of us. So it is really, really important to understand these things, that trauma is not something that only the other people have, but it's something that we all have, because we all have a dysregulated nervous system, and most of us didn't learn self-regulation skills, which is already a trauma. So the good thing is, it's not a stigma, it's not a life sentence, It can be changed. There is a way out of it. I guess I've shown you the way out of it. And this is what I can safely say. It has been the most amazing and the most interesting and most life-changing toolkit that I've learned as a trauma therapist of how you can get from surviving to thriving, and what then life and your business would look like if you finally got rid of all these things here and started acting and living and enjoying life from a place of I am, from a present, joyful, compassionate, curious, loving, open-hearted, focused, productive, and empowered self. So, if this resonates with you, then book a call, get in touch with me or with my team, and let's have a conversation and let's see what the journey could look like for you.